We're going to call the village board meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. And first for Dan to chair the meeting. Is that, I'll make that motion.
Okay, roll call.
Oh,
Brockman, DeBold,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
and Kirkland.
yes.
I think you got two trustees on the wire, too.
Yeah,
Oh,
Dan Warren's on
Luciano
too. I approve.
and Warren.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Tonight I'll be chairing the meeting. Mayor Chapman is...
This is Tony Luciano. I'm on the line too.
Okay, Mayor Chapman's sick, so I'll be sitting in chairing the meeting tonight. Can I get a roll call?
Dan Anderson,
Here.
Steve Brockman, Cece DeBold,
Here.
Barb Kirkland,
Here.
Tony Luciano,
Here,
and Dan Warren.
Here.
Okay, who on staff is online?
John from the building department's here.
Okay,
Hands on.
Chief's in the parking lot.
is that it? Okay, all right. Is there any citizens that would like to address the village board in person or online? No? We'll move on to the consent agenda. First one up is approval of the regular meeting minutes from October 27th, 2020. Two is approval of the committee of the whole meeting minutes, October 27th, 2020. Three, approval of accounts payable in the amount of $949,796.01. Four, approval of the payment amount of $52,000 to Tria Architecture for professional services for the Public Works facility. Five, approval of a payment amount of $10,519.38 to RJN Group for the 2020 sewer rehab program. Six, approval of a payment amount of $14,900 for Champion Drywall, Inc. for Village Hall exterior column repairs. And the last item, approval of an ordinance authorizing the disposal of surplus property and waive the second read. And one question, what's the surplus property?
So there was an accident that occurred with one of our.
That's the pickup?
Public Works
Okay.
trucks,
All right.
correct.
There's not any questions on the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to pass the consent agenda.
No,
Okay.
excuse me, the community of the whole is not on, you didn't receive them, I just got the CD.
Okay, well, let's
Not
move,
on.
we'll remove that. Item 2 will be tabled until next meeting, okay? Can we get a,
Motion as amended.
okay. Second was Steve or Dan Warren, was it?
I think Dan Warren.
Dan Warren, second?
I made the initial.
Okay. All right, roll call.
Warren,
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes,
Kirkland,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
and Brockman.
Okay, consent agenda is approved. Go on to reports and communications. I have not, well, one thing possibly, and this will be the mayor's call when he's back, hopefully in 2 weeks. We may be at a virtual meeting in 2 weeks, depending on how things go out there in the land. So, be prepared. We'll be doing the phone in or virtual. So, we'll go on to the order of business. We do have a lot of business tonight to take care of, a lot of agenda items. So the first one up is consideration for approval of a resolution accepting a plat of vacation for the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois. This is 25511 Regent Boulevard. Ms. Chrissy.
Thank you and good evening. So to give you a general idea of the location of this property, it's located within Westminster Gardens, and the property owner built a home on one lot and then acquired the lot adjacent to them. And they are looking to expand their driveway to provide better access for a side load garage. They are going to the county to record a plat of assessment plat. And in order for them to do that, then we are requesting the vacation of the easements between the two shared property lines. So that is what is before you tonight. The easement is for drainage and utilities. Public Works has reviewed and approved the vacation, but it is also subject to the other grantees, which would be ComEd, NICOR, the other utilities. So they'll need to get sign off on those easements as well in order to vacate the easement.
So that, we're gonna vacate that and then they'll pitch the drainage away from the center then, is pretty much what I'm thinking there?
Well, so it's not currently used as a drainage
Oh, no?
swale. So that's one of the things that we did verify before Public Works recommended approval of the vacation.
But what's in there now, just utilities?
There's nothing that
No.
exists there now, which is why we're recommending that it be vacated.
Okay. Any questions?
And we don't see any possibilities for anything in the future.
Hey, Dan, can you repeat that? I don't think we heard you.
We don't see anything for the future at all, right? I just want to make sure we don't get stuck with something.
Right, so while Director Noriel is walking to the podium, the property owner does intend to use this as one property, combining the lots. And so from that perspective, there shouldn't be a need for another structure. It is simply going to be additional yard and the ability for him to gain better access to his existing garage.
What she said. It's exactly what she said. It's just the public utility and drainage easement that exists is a typical easement that would be provided in a subdivision, a newly platted subdivision. Now that the homeowner is not building on the other lot, it is considered vacant. He is intending to pretty much consolidate it and be able to build over the lot line. There is no use for that public utility and drainage easement anymore.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor and
I'll second that.
got a second. Trustee DeBold, seconded.
Was it Brackman? Trustee Brackman?
Yep.
No, did you make the motion?
Yeah.
This is Tony Luciano. I did have one question. And I know that he said he's not going to build now, but if he decides to build in the future, is that possible? Or does he have to come in for some kind of a variance?
Are you referring to another single-family home?
Wanted to build a single-family home on there, or if he wanted to build any other structures on there?
It's really not buildable because he's going to be crossing the lot line with his improvements for the driveway. And like I said, he does intend to use it. It will be assessed as one lot through the county, and it'll be recorded as such. And therefore, it really becomes a consolidation without having to go through the tedious process of having to record a plat of re-subdivision to combine them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there's no other questions. Roll call?
Kirkland? Anderson?
Yes.
DeBold?
Yes.
Brockman? Luciano?
Yes.
And Warren?
Yes.
Okay, item 1 is approved. Item 2, consideration for approval of a resolution accepting a grant of easement to the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois. This is 304 Shady Lane. Ms. Chrissy.
Yes, sir. So this is part of originally the Vern Mar subdivision, although it's shown here in the Brook Forest subdivision, but it's just north of the Brook Forest Plaza. And the property unfortunately had a fire that damaged the structure, and it is a complete rebuild of the home. As part of that, The village requests to have, although they do have a 5-foot rear yard easement that was platted with the original subdivision, we do require a 10-foot rear yard and at least one 5-foot side yard easement. And because of that redevelopment, they are granting us those easements. And so this would accept those easements to be able to put potential future public utilities or drainage, use it for drainage.
There's no drainage issues here with this one?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Nothing? Okay.
Motion to accept the resolution for grant of easement at 304 Shady.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kirkland,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Brockman, Luciano,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
All right, motion is approved. Item is approved. Let's see, number 3, consideration for approval of an ordinance granting a zoning map amendment to B1 Neighborhood Convenience Shopping Center District for certain property located in the village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois. This is 102 Summer Street. This is up for a first read. Trustee Brockman, or Ms. Chrissy.
Thank you. And Brian Kilday here for us virtually at our last meeting. Does come here with a 7-0 vote.
Thank you, sir. So as mentioned, this property is currently zoned R1, which is medium-density, single-family residence district. The property is located on the southeast corner of Jefferson and Summer Street. The request is to rezone it to a business district, which is the lowest intensity business district, to operate a marketing office. As you can see, the property is adjacent to an existing B1 zone district, and it is also a law office. If you'll recall, the TIF core area plan did call for this area to transition to flex mixed use. And so this, and here's the illustrative plan that was approved or adopted as part of the plan. And so as you can see from the request, it is consistent with that request. Mr. Kilday is on the phone, and the PZC unanimously recommended approval, noting that it did meet the standards for rezoning as well as the consistency, being consistent with the TIF core area plan. Now, I do know that there were some concerns about some existing nonconformities on the site. There are existing nonconformities for the R1 and will continue to be the existing nonconformity if rezoned.
Okay. Is that in the TIF, or is it just outside of the TIF?
No,
It
it's
is-
in the
It's
TIF.
in the TIF, okay.
Is that affected at all by IDOT's revamping 52?
Yes, it actually is one of the properties that was identified somewhat recently. It was brought to the board because there were a couple topographical challenges with the improvements to Route 52. And so this is likely one of the properties that IDOT will need to acquire in order to make the transition onto Summer Street. The extent of that is still somewhat unknown because we have not seen, I don't believe we've seen the revised plans yet, but it was identified and the board did discuss that previously.
So is he planning on remodeling what the property is there, or is he planning on building something new?
So currently he is occupying the existing structure. The prior owner had made some improvements to include a new roof and siding, and based on what Mr. Kilday had reported to the PZC, no additional improvements are being made at this time. However, Mr. Kilday is on the call if anyone wants to ask him specific questions.
Sure, this is Mr. Kilday. Yeah, I'll just answer that. I don't plan on adding to the structure or redoing the structure that would, change the appearance from the outside at all. I've, made improvements on the inside, and that's how we're going to move going forward.
Okay, and it's,
Is this property required to become ADA compliant?
So there's a couple questions related to that, and the building inspectors need to go in and do an inspection, and that's part of the business licensing process. That hasn't started yet because we needed to go through this process and approve the rezoning in order for it to be an allowed use. Once this is approved, or if approved, then the building inspectors can go and do what's called a pre-inspection as part of the business license process. And then they will make a determination as to whether or not the improvements made to the interior would warrant coming into compliance with ADA. Typically, it's a threshold percentage, and John Komorowski, I believe, is on the line and can probably speak more eloquently about what's required or not required. But typically, there has to be a certain percentage of improvements to the structure in order to trigger the requirement for ADA compliance.
But even us just changing the zoning from residential to business isn't going to trigger that then?
Not that I understand. John, are you able to answer that?
Yeah, I'm on the line, and if they are not doing anything structural to the building, that's where we have to do our inspection. I reached out to the state as well, and the state basically said no, they are not required to. Also, with their business plan, they are not open to the public, so they don't have customers coming to the building itself. So it's just the owner, and I believe it's a partner that are working out of the facility.
okay, that was my question, if there was gonna be public in there, but okay. All right, if there's no other questions,
Other questions? Make a motion to approve ordinance granting a zoning map amendment to B1 Neighborhood Convenience Shopping Center District for certain property located in the village of Shorewood, Will County, 102 Summer Street, and waive the second read.
you can get a second?
Second.
All right, Warren seconded, roll call.
Warren,
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
and Kirkland.
Yes.
Okay, item number 3 is approved. Move on to 4, consideration for approval of ordinance granting an amendment to conditional use for the Brook Forest Plaza Planned Unit Development in the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois. This is the Guiding Light Academy, 247 Brook Forest Avenue. This is up for a first read also. Trustee Brockman and Ms. Chrissy.
Okay, thank you again, Dan. Bill Palmer, do I have that right? Bill Palmer? He appeared before our committee the last meeting we had. This is in the Jewel Shopping Center, that large building. And he's asking to make some additions to that building. There was a public hearing. There was nobody for or against the project from the public. And here with a 7-0 vote. And Kelly, if you could fill in some.
Brockman, or excuse me, Trustee Brockman indicated the PUD does encompass the Jewel Osco Shopping Center. It encompasses the entire area shown with the exception of the very corner, which is the Anderson's Crossroads Plaza. Guiding Light Academy owns the property that is outlined here in orange, and that's the one, that's where we're considering the PUD amendment for. That amendment is to allow the educational use and permit its expansion, to approve a building addition now and in the future, and then allow 3 wall signs. Here is what the building currently looks like. It is, Guiding Light is an ISBE-approved therapeutic day school.
Sorry to interrupt, Kelly. I'm having a hard time hearing you. people that are on the phone to please mute their phones so we don't hear the background noise. Thank you.
Okay, Kelly, go ahead.
Okay. So the Guiding Light Academy is an ISBE approved or therapeutic day school. It's operated at this location since 2018. The proposal is to, so the building is highlighted here in green for what's existing today. And then the expansion is going to be to the west. They do propose an expansion that's slightly larger than their existing building, but it will be consistent in terms of architecture with the rest of the shopping center. And then as a potential future addition, we are recommending that with the amendment, we allow the ability, as was granted for a couple other lots within the subdivision, to not require a site plan approval for them when they propose to do the new, all of the additions really, but to ensure that it's consistent with the architecture, which again is sort of a consistent with lots 1 and 4 in the PUD. I do want to call out that this area is included in our TIF core area plan, and it is called for multifamily and some flex mixed use. However, I suspect that largely that designation was because of the difficulty in having retailers located in such a difficult spot on that site. There's no visibility from the road really. And so this PUD amendment will allow an existing business that is looking to expand be able to stay in the community and continue operating at a location that works for them, but it does not restrict the ability for sometime in the future to be able to transition to multifamily should this use no longer work in this location or should the business decide to leave that location. And the PZC did unanimously recommend approval of this. Mr. Palmer is here if there are any questions.
No, I don't have any questions. I'm glad to see something going on. Any other questions, any other board members?
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance granting an amendment to conditional use for the Brook Forest Plaza Plan Unit Development in the village of Shorewood, Will County. This is the Guiding Light Academy, 247 Brook Forest Avenue, and waive the second read.
All right, how about a second?
Second.
All right, we got a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Brockman,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Kirkland.
yes.
Warren.
Yes.
And Luciano.
Yes.
Okay, item number
Kelly.
4 is approved. Move on to 5, conditional use or consideration for approval of an ordinance approving a minor amendment and clarifying the constitutional use for the Riverwoods Plan Unit Development approved by ordinance number 01-1027. This is in River Crossing subdivision. This is the first read, Ms. Christie.
Yes, thank you. So as noted, this is the Riverwoods PUD. The annexation agreement and PUD were approved for the subdivision in 2001. It was actually the wind farm, and it was originally called Riverwoods. It is now, however, called River Crossing subdivision. The development standards were included with the annexation agreement. However, they seem to be inadvertently omitted from the PUD ordinance. And so the PUD amendment will, 1, incorporate the development standards to provide a single source of the requirements, and 2, allow aluminum eaves, soffits, fascia, and overhangs. The HOA has already amended their declarations and covenants and restrictions to eliminate that or to allow that in their requirements, and now are asking for us to allow that. As mentioned, this is a minor amendment to the PUD, so it does not require a recommendation by the PZC, which is why it's being brought forward for consideration tonight without that recommendation.
What flagged this?
The HOA actually contacted us because doing permit reviews, we had flagged the fact that there were aluminum soffits being proposed, and we identified that our ordinance doesn't allow aluminum soffits. So we've been working with the HOA for quite some time to be able to have them request the ability to make this happen. And a lot of that had to do with making sure that their covenants could be modified, that the entire HOA was, or at least, the majority of the HOA as required, was on board with allowing that material.
Okay. Simple enough.
I do have to tell a little story here, because on a sidebar, I seen a 100-year-old plat book of Troy Township, and in 1928, my grandfather and great uncle owned a Ward farm. What is a Ward farm? And lost it in 29. So little did they know, huh? But saying that, make a motion for approval of ordinance approving a minor amendment and clarifying the conditional use for Riverwoods Plan Unit Development approved by ordinance number 01-1027 and waive the second read.
Second.
Roll call.
Warren,
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes.
Kirkland. Yes. Anderson,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
and Brockman.
Yes.
All right, item number 5 is approved. We'll move on to 6. Consideration for approval of a resolution accepting public improvements for Town Center 1, Phase 3, releasing the improvement bond and waiving the maintenance surety requirements. Ms. Chrissy.
Thank you. So I do want to call out, excuse me, what area we are talking about. So on the screen here, I've highlighted the areas where the public improvements were made. And if you'll recall, Town Center has 4 phases. This is the 3rd phase. Public improvements for this phase were completed on November 9th, 2018. The original bond has been reduced, and we've been holding $10,000. S.R. Jacobson, who is the developer, has submitted and received approval of their as-built drawings. I do want to note, however, that sidewalks and parkway trees are the responsibility of the home builder. So those are the improvements that are not put in at this time unless there's a home actually constructed. Maintenance bonds and a maintenance period of 2 years are required upon completion of the public improvements, and it is a guarantee for the work. Since 2 years has already passed since the improvements were completed, then we are recommending and presenting a resolution to accept the public improvements, waive the maintenance period and the maintenance bond or maintenance surety, and release the remaining subdivision bond for this, for Town Center 1, Phase 3.
So, first off, did you say it was 8,000 or 10,000?
We are currently holding $10,000
10,000,
bond.
okay, because I wasn't sure what you said earlier, but,
I'm sorry.
so you want to release the 10,000 and not have any bond on it at all?
Correct.
What about for trees and the improvements in the parkways? What if they don't get it finished?
That's a great question. And so we charge a $5,000 bond for every new single-family permit. And that $5,000 bond is to cover any of the damage to public property and to ensure that they install the sidewalk and plant the parkway trees as required.
And that's going to go on each building permit for each house?
That is correct.
Okay. 5,000's enough?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions? No? Okay,
Make
motion.
the motion to approve public improvements, Town Center, Phase 3.
Second?
Second.
Diane, we got a second. Can you do roll call, please?
Kirkland? Yes. Anderson?
Yes.
DeBold?
Yes.
Brockman?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
Luciano?
Yes.
Okay, item 6 is approved. Number 7, consideration for approval of the CARES Act reimbursement subdivision documents. Ms. Burkholder.
Thank you. This is the same set of documents that was before you last month. After we submitted those and they were approved, we found out that we were given an additional allocation. So we have an additional $81,000 or just over that much to be reimbursed for. So these documents, when submitted, will get us that remaining reimbursement amount.
That's good news. How did you find that?
It was actually the county reached out to us and said, would you like to submit for your remaining allocation? And we said, we did already. And they said, no, this one. So
Oh,
Nice.
very thankful for that.
all right, well, we can put that to good use. Okay.
Sure.
Just need approval of item number 7.
Move to approve the CARES Act reimbursement submission documents.
All right,
Second.
Dave? Okay, all right.
Was that Warren or Luciano?
Warren.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Kirkland?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brockman? DeBold?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Luciano?
Yes.
All right, item 7, the CARES Act reimbursement is approved. Number 8, consideration for approval of an ordinance for the levy and collection of taxes for the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning April 1st, 2020, and ending March 31st, 2021. This is a first read. Ann Burkholder, our Finance Director.
Thank you again. The proposed 2020 property tax levy is flat over the previous year's tax extension with the exception of the police pension amount, which was the actuarial required contribution increase there by just about $52,000. So we've included that in the proposed levy and made no other changes. Our belief is that with a conservative estimate in EAV growth, the average homeowner should not notice a material increase to their taxes paid to the village. This is a first read only. We do have to publish, I believe, before we can have our second read, which we will do at the first meeting in December.
Okay, yeah, the increase is very minimal, so that's good. All right, that's first read. Is there any questions on this? No?
Nope.
Okay. All right, item number 9, consideration for approval of an ordinance abating the tax hereto levied for the year 2020 to pay the principal of and the interest of $4,700,000 general obligation refunding bonds. This is an alternative revenue source, Series 2011 of the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois. Ms. Burkholder.
Thank you again. This is a housekeeping item. There is only one bond issuance left that we have to go through this process on. It is the bonds that we took out for Village Hall construction in 2004 and refinanced in 2011. Abating these taxes identifies that the village has alternate revenue sources to make those tax payments, and we don't want to put that on the property tax rolls. You are able to waive the second read if you so choose, or we can bring it back at the next meeting.
Well, I would prefer to just waive the second read. Questions?
Yeah, when is this bond officially completed? Do we know?
24, I believe it's December of 24. However, part of our plan, if we go forward with a new public works facility, depending on where the market is at, is to either use fund reserves to pay off a portion of this debt or to roll it into a new bond issuance, because it is callable at this time. So it will probably change in structure over the next year.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I was kind of wondering if this is one of the things we talked about when we were talking about the public works building.
Yep, you bet.
All right, thank you.
But with the interest rates that are down now these days, it may be worth, going in there and calling it, paying it off and starting over. It's something to think about going forward. So.
Yeah, and that will be part of the analysis when we get closer to issuing new debt.
Okay. We get a motion to approve this and waive the second?
Move to approve an ordinance abating the tax hereto levied for the year 2020 to pay the principal of and interest on $4,700,000 GO refunding bonds, alternate revenue source, Series 2011, the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois, and waive the second read.
Second.
Nice, okay. Roll call.
Warren,
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
and Kirkland.
Yes.
All right, item number 9 is approved. 10, consideration for approval of a resolution approving the Shorewood Cares Small Business Relief Program, approving a form of a grant agreement authorizing the village administrator to enter into grant agreements and to make grant payouts according to the terms of the Shorewood Cares Small Business Relief Program. Mr. Collada and Ms. Chrissy.
Thank you. As you know, this was something we discussed at the Committee of the Whole recently, so we're bringing this forward without any changes from our last discussion. You all know that our businesses are an extremely important part of our community, and that this pandemic has put a lot of them in peril, particularly our smaller businesses. So the village right now has a tremendous opportunity to provide some financial support for these small businesses through the CARES Act, which we've talked about and received some good news recently about additional funds being available. So what we would like to do is to proceed with using a small portion of those funds with this grant program. And I'll let Kelly explain some of the details.
So I do have the same slides that we used last time. However, there are just a couple minor revisions. The first one is related to the recognition of a potential second round of funding. We've actually eliminated some of the language in there to restrict the maximum grant award per business to provide greater flexibility. So in the event that the board wants to provide more, or if we have fewer applicants, then we may have a greater opportunity to make a bigger impact for the businesses that are really struggling. So we just eliminated that sort of more restrictive language in favor of some flexibility. And then as a reminder, the businesses that are eligible are small businesses located in Shorewood since the beginning of 2020 that have experienced net operating losses due to COVID. We have excluded corporately owned national chains, home-based businesses, adult-oriented businesses, banks, payday lenders, things like that. And then the grant terms are still the $10,000 max grant award for this sort of initial allocation. And then we can, the board can determine at that, if there's additional funding that you want to allocate to this program based on the demand or need in the community, if you want to provide additional funding to individual businesses. The eligible expenses are the two most costly operating expenses, which are payroll and rent or mortgage.
So that's the only thing they can use the money for.
Correct. So our approval process is that they apply online. We've actually been working on that application process, trying to streamline it as much as possible with just maybe some checks on whatever is applicable. There is some documentation that would be needed in order to verify some items. But once the application is received, it'll be reviewed by the village administrator, village attorney, finance director, and myself. The village administrator, according to this proposal, would be the administrator of the program, would be authorized to enter into grant agreements with the eligible grantees, and then the business will provide documentation for those expenses because it is a reimbursement program, and then the village board will approve or authorize the reimbursement payment monthly, as is normally the case with the list of bills. We do have some preference criteria. The goal is to be able to fund as many eligible applicants with as much of the $10,000 as possible. However, in the event that we see just an enormous response and there are more applications than what we can fund with $10,000, then we have preference criteria which will be used to score the applications and then determine the funding amount that they'll be awarded. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any additional questions, but really the big change, well, there really weren't any big changes, but there were 2 clarifications, I think, that were made.
So the max is still 25,000, or is it 20,000?
The max is $10,000 with the initial $350,000 funding allocation. Then should the board desire to increase the allocation, then we could potentially award more to the businesses that had already received.
Yeah, I thought we were talking 2 rounds possibly.
We-
That
we-
is.
Right. Yeah, we thought that by having it open-ended, it allowed the board to determine whether or not the way it's currently proposed was meeting the needs of the businesses, and perhaps do a second or even a third, depending upon how many applicants we get. So basically, there's maximum flexibility for the board to determine how many rounds of funding and how much funding. We might, the board may decide perhaps we need to give more than 10,000, or perhaps we need to do less because we have so many and we want to be able to spread it out to as many businesses as possible. So not knowing what the response will be from the business community, the small change that we made allows the board to have maximum flexibility to be responsive to the need of the businesses.
Kelly, did you get a head count or how many small businesses this could take in or could apply?
So out of our roughly 450 businesses, nearly all of them are likely to qualify as a small business. However, not all of the businesses had a net operating loss due to COVID. So we don't know that information right now. I suspect that largely we will have bars and restaurants first and foremost in line, particularly given the now Tier 2 mitigations that are taking effect tomorrow. But honestly, we don't know how to gauge demand at this point because we don't know where every business sits. And so, so the Will County Small Business Grant Program, that was for a small subset of small businesses. It was only up to 25 employees. We had 48 applications submitted for that grant program. Their second round, I haven't heard how many more, but that they've expanded their number of employees from 25 to 50. We don't have a cap on the number of employees, so we're really trying to maximize the ability for our businesses to get this assistance. But, we do have a number of small businesses that likely will need some assistance, particularly now.
Yeah.
And we're reaching out to let them know this money's available, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're also going to be hosting a webinar to be able to answer any questions for the businesses. And any business that has questions, I'm happy to answer and talk through the application process with them. And we will be doing everything we can to make sure that all of these businesses are aware of this program, if approved.
Okay.
Kelly, this is Tony Luciano. I had 2 questions. As I was not at the last COW meeting, I was just trying to understand exactly where the CARE funds that we're giving these grants is coming from. It's coming from the county funds that we're getting?
So it's actually village funds, but it is from the funds that have been reimbursed by the county for expenses related to COVID.
Okay, and then the second question I have is, I know in quite a few, and I mentioned this to you earlier when we were at the Citizen Advisory Committee, we talked about it, is how easy is it going to be for these people to apply? I know with the PPP that there were a lot of business were given from the government, that there was a lot of confusion in it. Is these applications, are they user-friendly, or is there going to be stuff that they're going to have a lot of problems figuring out in order to submit it?
No, so one of our goals was to make this as simple as possible for businesses. And so as I mentioned, we are doing an online application form. We've actually taken a look at some of the other programs that are available and their application processes. And we have tried to, as much as possible, make it super easy for them. So we have sort of a listing of options, and then they check off the ones that apply, and then there's submission, so ability for them to upload their documents. However, once we receive an application, even if it is incomplete, we will be reaching out to the business to let them know if there is any sort of incomplete documentation or if a question wasn't answered fully, and we'll be working with them to make sure that we can get a completed application. I think the biggest difference is that we are a much smaller community, and so we can provide that sort of personalized service to the businesses, whereas a lot of these larger programs are really difficult to manage just because of the scale of them. And PPP was a completely different animal altogether. There were multiple banks that were administering, and there was some confusion initially, and then we had just a lot of problems, I think, come out of that. So I'm confident that we can make sure that our business community is able to apply for and get these funds.
Okay, thank you, Kelly.
Are there any questions?
Kelly, so if the government does pass another PPP, will these businesses be able to apply for that? Because it says no other COVID financial assistance. So how's that going to work?
So there's a couple things. So in the event that the federal government does allow for or provide for additional funding, the businesses would be able to also apply for that. However, they would not be able to apply for this, to be reimbursed for the same expense. So it would be on the business to keep track of what program funded which expense. So they're going to have to track all of that. But as far as we're concerned, we're not using CARES Act funding, which provides us greater flexibility. So it really is on the business owner to be able to maintain an inventory of what they've received funding for and what source it came from, to be able to really justify their expenses in the event that they're audited.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, this is one of the once-in-a-lifetime opportunities where, there's a disaster, and as local government, we can actually do something to affect and to help our local businesses immediately. I mean, a lot of times we put things in place and you don't see a result for it for weeks or months or years. This is something that the small businesses could take advantage of and hopefully keep their doors open till this thing's over with, and maybe get them through the winter anyway. And, like I said, it's just something that we can do as small government and see a result hopefully quick. So, any other questions or comments? Okay, I guess we need a vote on this to approve it.
I move to approve the resolution approving the Shorewood Cares Small Business Relief Program, approving a form of grant agreement authorizing the village administrator to enter into grant agreements and to make grant payouts according to the terms of the Shorewood Cares Small Business Relief Program.
Get a second?
Longest ones tonight.
It is.
Second.
We
Dan will
got
second.
Warren seconded. Roll call. Diane?
Luciano,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
and Kirkland.
Yes.
All right, item number 10 is approved. Move on to 11, consideration for approval of a resolution waiving this 2021 business license registration renewal fees for certain businesses, business licensing and registration, and tobacco. Ms. Kelly.
Thank you. So as discussed at the Committee of the Whole, we are recommending a waiver for all renewal, for existing businesses, renewal fees that, for all businesses with the exception of essential national retailers occupying space 12,000 square feet or greater. It does not include auto dealers. It also does not apply to contractor registrations. and it still does require submittal of a renewal application, just without the fees. So we would still have a handful of businesses subject to the fees, but the majority of the businesses would have fee waivers.
Okay, now this is the same thing basically as what we did on the previous one, but we're going to waive the licensing and registration fees for, you know, the restaurants, the taverns, the hair places, the nail places, the liquor stores, the small mom and pop operations that have been struggling for the last 7 months. This is not going to take effect to the Home Depot or the car dealerships, any of the big box guys. Yes?
It does apply to the car dealerships.
Oh, it does apply to the car.
It does apply,
Okay.
so they would receive waivers
They will,
under this.
they will get a waiver, okay.
Because they are not considered a national retailer.
Okay, all right. So the car dealers will get their fees, their licenses waived, okay.
Correct.
Well, you know, they're big employers but they are family-owned and smaller businesses too, so yeah. But the big ones, the Home Depots and that are not, and Target, so. You know, once again, it's another thing that we can do to immediately help our small people, keep them in business.
Of the 450 businesses that you referenced earlier, how many do not qualify for this?
I believe it's 8. Would you like to know the exact number?
This ballpark, that's
Yeah,
fine.
it's like 8 to 10.
Okay. Questions from the board?
Yeah, what is the average waiver that we're giving, say, to a car dealership? I mean, we only have, 2 or 3 in the town?
Well,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
I do just want to note that we do have used car dealerships as well. So it's not just the larger car dealerships, but also the smaller ones as well would be included in there. So we do have a handful.
For a larger one, what kind of fees are we waiving for a large dealership, not a small used car one? I know you indicated somewhere here, I read it was $50,000 total for everybody.
Right, yeah, I think Kelly and I are looking through the same list here. I can tell you that the highest business fee paid by anyone is $2,500. So
Right.
we're talking significantly lower than that for the
Correct.
dealer.
So for the dealerships, it's approximately $300.
300, and that's the two big guys, probably the Harley Davidson.
That one,
I'm just curious that, that we're waiving for the larger dealerships. I would think we'd probably have a cap on the amount of revenue you receive based on, waiving this. I mean, if a place is doing $1 million of business, it doesn't seem sensible to waive $2,500. But that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I believe the larger, the car dealers, are $300 approximately to $400.
Okay. Then you got the semi guys, truck guys over there. Are there any other questions on item 12?
I think it's 11.
Or, I'm
11,
sorry,
yeah.
11.
I'll make the motion to adopt a resolution waiving 2021 business license registrations under certain businesses as presented.
Second.
Roll call, Diane.
Brockman,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
Anderson, Kirkland,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes.
All right, item number 11 is passed. 12, consideration for approval of a resolution waiving the 2021 liquor license renewal fee for certain businesses. Chrissy.
Thank you. So this one is actually identical to the one prior to it in terms of it would apply to all existing businesses for renewals with the exception of essential national retailers occupying space 12,000 square feet or greater, which is essentially mid-box and big box retailers. And again, they still would have to complete their renewal application. It just would be that the fee would be waived for those that it applies to.
Okay.
Again, I got the same question. How many are not waived? Because if I recall, there's 36 businesses that maintain some sort of a liquor license. How many are not eligible for this? Again, just a ballpark number is fine.
6.
Okay.
All right, you know, and just for the people that's maybe watching us, well, what this board is trying to do is, you know, try to keep our small guys alive and keep them going until this crisis is over with. And, you know, we're trying to do our part to help them. And I hope people out there watching understand that. All right, number 12, we need a motion.
Move to approve a resolution waiving the 2021 liquor license renewal fees for certain businesses.
Get a second?
Second.
All right. Diane, roll call.
Warren,
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
and Brockman.
Yes.
Okay, item number 12 passes. Item 13, discussion on the possible waiving of its 2021 license renewal fee for video gaming terminals. This is discussion only. Chrissy.
Thank you. So with the feedback that we received from the Committee of the Whole meeting, we have come back with an alternative recommendation to, instead of waive the renewal fees, we have recommended a fee reduction. And so that is to prorate based on the ability to operate only 8.5 months in 2020. And what that would look like is for a $500, so a normal fee is $500 per terminal, but if approved, this would then be reduced to $354 per terminal. It applies only to renewals, so if there are new terminals that come on, they have to pay the full fee. And then it would apply to all existing video game license holders. And as with the liquor and the business renewal forms, they do need to renew. It's just that their renewal fee would be reduced should the board decide to approve this.
Any questions or comments on this?
Does the state charge permit fees for these machines?
So there is an annual renewal fee.
With the
They've
state?
actually, yes, so
And have they done anything?
they have. So they actually, trying to remember. Oh, I don't think that I have it on here. I do believe that they have waived the requirement. Yeah, I apologize. I thought I had that
All
on
right,
here.
I caught you off guard on that. I should have emailed you or something with that question.
That's okay.
earlier.
I think that they have extended the licensing or waived it, although I could be getting it confused with liquor licensing now that I say that. Let's see if we can figure this out here.
Would this be better off waiting until December, especially with the fact that we're rolling into a Tier 2 mitigation, and if an actual rollback of from Tier 4 to Tier 3 applies?
Well, we're not going to take any action anyway on this tonight. It's just discussion. So, yeah, I mean, it'll come back to us again either 2 weeks or maybe 4 weeks.
Right, I think, you know,
I'd rather not see it in 2 weeks if there's the potential of
Yeah.
a whole Phase 3 aspect being applied. Your 354 number actually potentially becomes irrelevant.
Might change again.
oh, you're saying we might have a need to reduce it further.
If the
Yeah.
state imposes further restrictions, then the gaming aspect's not even eligible.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose one option could be for us to reimburse that difference, you know, but, you know, staff, we do have the need to get out, you know, some of this renewal information to them so that there isn't a gap between when their license expires.
When do the licenses expire?
It's December 31st. I should also note that the video gaming is on the liquor license application and renewal application, so they're typically done together.
Okay.
but it is a calendar year license.
So we have 2 more meetings before the end of the year, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't at this cow meeting. I don't know if you guys discussed this, but I was thinking that I can understand where you're coming from, but I was thinking maybe we should give them a grace period rather than give them any reimbursement, being that,
Well,
gaming.
it's not a reimbursement though. It's not, we're not gonna charge
No,
them
I
for
mean,
it this
rather
year.
than waiving it or, lowering it, because the gaming's gonna go on next year, and the revenue they're receiving from it is a substantial amount of money. And I can understand trying to help them out, but we're helping them out in so many other ways that this is something that every business doesn't have. This is almost like a privilege because we limit the people that can have it. And so I would rather see something, again, it's for discussion, us to consider something about giving them maybe a 90-day grace period where they don't have to pay the fee for this until March or April. But I just don't see when they're generating revenue that they're generating that we should be lowering or waiving the fees.
What they're currently generating is what's keeping them in business, not the business itself.
Well, unfortunately, I look at it this way. It's a business. It's something no one else has. And some of them, even with the months they're off, this year alone have created $40,000, $50,000 on it. And the lowest one I saw, and that's at last month's report, was $10,000. So, I mean, I just don't see that we can be constantly reimbursing businesses for stuff with money that's revenue to the village. That's just my opinion. I can understand giving them some breaks on it or maybe letting them pay later because they're going to generate quite a bit of money next year from that.
And you gotta remember
And so
though, they were closed.
We're talking about next year's fees.
You gotta remember, they were closed for 2.5 months at the beginning of this, completely shut down. Then they were opened up for a while, and I think they could use partial, they were in, maybe some gaming was going on. And now, they're going to another shutdown. And Tony, just because the lights are on and they got an open sign lit, doesn't mean they have customers. I mean, they still got bills to pay.
With the businesses, I have a couple of my own, and I can understand trying to help, but this is something that most people don't have.
But they're also,
a lot of revenue.
But on the same behalf, most people aren't paying the fee to begin with.
right, yeah,
Most people would pay the fee if they had the opportunity if we let them do it.
Okay.
We're losing, I believe we're trusting,
That's not the way we read.
you got a variety of
That's
other
not the way we
breakfast
set this
restaurant
up.
facilities also that aren't eligible to have video gaming. This is an alternative income for those. Matter of fact, a couple of the breweries, hair salons, nail salons, tanning salons, the gyms, they don't have the ability to have video gaming as an alternative revenue source. So I believe that's what he's referring to. So.
but this is
It's a-
also a fee that we charge that
Correct.
that other ones don't have to pay.
Correct, but this is also, it's a fee that, and I believe this is where he's referring to, is this is a fee that we charge, but they're also generating additional revenues where other businesses in town don't have that opportunity.
Yeah, well,
This was also put in place in order to help these businesses because of the hour shutdown. So the amount of revenue they were losing because we shut their businesses down an hour earlier.
on the weekend.
Yeah, well, that's good, Dan, but you have to also look at this. We've issued license to people who weren't affected by the hours we shut them down. There's only 4 bars that were affected by it, or 5 bars, and we have 7 licenses out there right now.
No, all the bars were affected. Every bar was affected.
I
How
think
could bars be affected
everyone,
if they close at 9 o'clock at night. And
That's their option.
Pardon me?
I believe that's their option. You can't just say, I'm gonna close down this one at 1 o'clock and you can stay open till 2 o'clock. It's effective for every bar.
You just said what the initial thing was. We were trying to help them because we closed them down earlier. Well, if a bar didn't stay open till 2 o'clock in the morning, how were we considering them as being part of that whole deal?
You got me totally lost in that. I was just throwing out an example.
Well, if a bar...
So if I'm not mistaken, the license used to be till 3 o'clock. 3 a.m.
Right.
We changed it till 2 o'clock, which last call was what? I don't know how that was, 1:30, whatever that is. So we shut them down an hour earlier, which has been a good thing because we haven't had as many incidences occurring. So it's a good thing. But that last hour is when they were generating a lot of the money. So we shut them down early. We're trying to help them out by doing this, but they're still paying a fee for these machines. So
My question to
I don't
you is
get that.
this. What about the 2 other bars that didn't stay open, that we didn't cut down their hours?
First of all, what 2 other bars are you referring to?
Help them.
What other bars are you referring to?
What's the place on, I don't remember the name of it, the place right behind on 59 there, the hamburger place. I don't know the name of it.
Portillo's?
No, not Portillo's. East or south of 52.
Mark's on 59, sir.
59, I'm sorry. South on 59.
Hey, may I address the board,
Okay.
sir? My name is Mark Kafka from Mark's on 59. You guys could hear me, correct?
Yeah, that's your place. Mark, that's your place.
Yes. My biggest concern about the gaming license is not just bars and taverns. It's regarding other restaurants, Maitira, Pepe's, and myself. Also, you got Terry on the corner. You got Chris. I'm not Chris. You got Ken. And the biggest thing, my concern is you pay for a fee and you do not get the days, like paying rent. I just want to be prorated. That's all I'm asking for on this gaming license. I know there's some money to be made. If we could prorate, if I'm closed for 3 months, then prorate us. You wouldn't rent an apartment and move out and pay the full month's rent regarding that. So that's all we're asking for. I appreciate your time, guys, whatever you could do. Their first 3 ones were great for us. It's going to help us a lot. The liquor license, the business license, and the game license are going to be due in 30 days, roughly. Now, that's going to affect a lot of the guys here. So whatever you could do, just take into consideration if you got to wait another 2 weeks to decide what you want to do. But it's you're paying for just break it down by a month. And that's all I'm asking. We lost 3 months of revenue. Well, hopefully we'll make it back, but we do have families and bills and mortgages and taxes to pay. So thank you for your time. It's great talking to you guys.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
That's the only reason why I say don't bring this back until, I know it's going to be tight, but I think we're better off waiting till the first meeting of December. A prorating, I don't have any issues with. I think that's acceptable. I just think, but if the state rolls back here, I'd rather try to see it streamlined. Again, we're only having to work with 7 businesses regarding the gaming aspect, so.
All right, I just got a couple things here that kind of talks about what we already approved and maybe this going forward. It's a little research that I did. $10 million grant was issued last week from the feds to the city of Chicago, and that's to go to helping their small businesses, restaurants mainly, keep them afloat through the winter. There's a report from 6/11/20 from Forbes magazine. Up to 85% of independent restaurants will close without federal aid. And this was written, like I said, in June 11th of this year. And then July 24th, 2020, this was on ABC News. There's 16,000 restaurants have closed permanently already in this country. So, I mean, these are numbers that are hitting small businesses, that are hitting our local people that we all know. And we should be able to try and help them if we, if the possibility if it arises. So, these are numbers you need to keep in mind. These guys are the ones who are getting hit the hardest out of this pandemic. I mean, they don't have deep pockets like, the national chains that shut down and stay shut down for months on end. These guys need to work every day. So that's all I got to say to try, help these guys. So if there's nothing else on item number 12 or 13.
Well, is there a way we can bring this to the next meeting and do something about it? I know you wanted to take it till December, but we can always, can we do something like leave that, we don't have to say it's $354, can't we leave that open till we have a further understanding of that amount?
I think we got at least, or at the most, we have a month to do it final, you know, and between the staff and the mayor and the rest of the board, you know, we can get an idea on what we want or see what happens with, you know, Region 7 statewide or our, you know, Kankakee and Will County.
Well, you could just put a calculation amount in there too, I think.
Just adjust it as a prorate.
Adjust it, you know, you know, when they collect it, you could just have a percentage for each month they're closed or something like that. So you wouldn't necessarily know the dollar amount when you passed it, but it's amount that could be calculated, and I think you could do that if you.
That would make sense. It would at least give you the dollar amount per machine based on the per month aspect.
Right, yeah, we could certainly do that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, something like that. You just put it a little more elegant. Thank you.
Be the same thing as we did for the chamber regarding the rent.
Correct.
So would you like to see that at the next board meeting?
Yeah, that would actually streamline it because that way, again, if the state closes everything down, you know, I know right now we're basing on 3.5 months that they weren't accessible. But if something were to change, at least we have something in place.
Well, we could, I would prefer to see how it is in maybe the Thursday before the agenda's set and see what the state does. And if we can do it then, fine. If not, if we got to put it off for another 2 weeks, so we just can have it by the first meeting in December, you know, for the staff and you guys to get your licensing put together.
Sure. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
I mean, we got time, you know, and it's not like it's going to take a lot of time to finish this, right?
Correct. We'll make it happen when you're ready.
Okay. That's what I like to hear. All right, so we're done with 13. All right, number 14, consideration for approval of a professional services agreement with M.E. Simpson Company, Inc. for the water distribution system leak survey in the amount of $18,915. Mr. Noriega.
Thank you. This is an annual leak program for the village for our water main system. It helps staff identify any leaks in our system, especially those leaks that don't come up to the surface, but they find their way through the trenches, maybe into our sanitary sewer, and we never see it on the top. M.E. Simpson is a professional service that we've done business with in the past. They've done our last leak detection program. Any leaks that are found during this are repaired by in-house staff. This will become a vital maintenance program, especially as we consider alternative water sources for the village as we maybe move to Lake Michigan water in the near future. Trying to keep this non-revenue water loss down, the percentage below 10%. Ideally, we'd like to be closer to 0%, but a system is never perfect in that manner. The non-revenue source water, of course, is attributed to leaks in our system, water main breaks, also sometimes theft, and then in some cases, fire protection as well. These are programs that help reduce and keep our water loss to a minimum. At this point, I recommend that we approve the professional service agreement to M.E. Simpson in the amount of $18,915. I'm available for any questions.
Well, where am I remembering? I thought we were down about 4% at one time on leaks.
Yeah, we were down.
Am I mistaken, or?
No, I don't know if it was 4%, but we were down, and I'm thinking we probably need to start looking at our pump to billing gallons, or kind of see where we're at on how much we're pumping versus how much we're, I guess, billing, and so we can figure out our loss. And I don't think we've had an analysis like that in a few years, have we, Jim?
I believe that's something that we have to submit annually.
Annually, as part of the Lake Michigan allocation application, we are obligated to provide all the calculations of what we pump and what we're losing, or call it the non-revenue water loss.
Well, if that's the deal, how is Joliet ever going to get an allocation?
They're working on it. They're close to
Got a lot of
spending
work to
$10
do
million
then.
a year in improving their system.
Yeah, I believe that they're identifying a plan that would bring them to a more acceptable level. So that is a significant challenge for them, but I know they are also investing heavily annually for that
So
effort.
$28,000, how many gallons is that?
At 8.5%, that's approximately 3.4 million gallons a month that we lose.
3 million gallons a month we're losing.
Average communities in this area is above 10%, so closer to 12 to 13%. We just had 3 water main breaks, 3 leaky valves that we discovered just this past week and a half. Had a couple fires, used a significant amount of water. We don't require them to put a meter on, so we can figure this out. It's
Understand.
all estimated.
You know, Steve, I'm sure you remember a few years ago, when we first started that, or this, the first year or two, we had a quite significant amount of water loss, and we did find a lot of bad, I don't know, valves, not big leaks, but a bunch of little ones. And, you know, it really, and a couple of years following that, it really did
I
it.
think we even found homes that were getting water that didn't have meters on them,
Yeah.
believe it or not. So,
You know, but the thing is, what my point is, though, we need to keep doing this, and, you know, because the system's always is aging, and there's always something breaking. And you know how that is. So,
yeah, I sure do.
so
I
yeah.
agree. Doesn't this also affect how we pay Joliet with the sewer?
No.
Is this no? I thought there was something to do with the water. with that.
Joliet sanitary bill that we receive is based on the water usage from our residents and their usage on their meters, on the water meters.
Billed use.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? I guess I'll make the motion to approve this one. Approval of a professional service agreement with M.E. Simpson Company, Inc. for water distribution system valve exercising in the amount of $20,580.
I thought we were talking
No,
about
no,
the 18,915 one.
Oh, Jesus, criminy, yeah. This thing.
You're on 14,
Yeah,
Dan.
I'm sorry. Consideration of approval of a professional services agreement with M.E. Simpson for water distribution leak survey in the amount of $18,915.
Second.
All right, guys.
Warren,
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
and Brockman.
Yes.
All right, item 14 is approved. We'll move on to 15. Consideration of approval of a professional service agreement with M.E. Simpson, Inc. for water distribution valve exercising. This is in the amount of $20,580. Mr. Noriega.
Thank you again. So similar, again, program that we are trying to implement is, protecting our water system. Our valves are critical in our system in terms of being able to, especially during a water main break, that we're able to isolate that location and minimize how much residents and businesses are affected during an emergency situation. Valve exercising, although we have almost 1,300 throughout the village, it is a very costly, time-consuming exercise where staff actually will be out there turning, opening, closing, and ensuring that there's a good closure on those valves and they're operating as designed. So in order to keep this into a more manageable budgeted item, we're requesting that we do approximately 30% of our valves, which equates to about a little over 400 valves a year. We've started this program last year, identified a number of locations where staff had made some repairs, even so much that just recently during our water main break, we found 3 valves that were leaking upon exercising when we were isolating the water main break along Shady. So with this, I request that the M.E. Simpson, again, is approved in the amount of professional services agreement in the amount of $20,580.
Yep.
Available for any questions.
Just, I was going to talk about it in my report. We had the 2 water main breaks, and isolating those lines, a couple of valves broke or caused leak, started leaking. So this is, example of why. All right, I'll make a motion for agreement between the Village of Shorewood and M.E. Simpson for $20,580.
Second.
Roll call, Diane.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
Okay, item 15 is approved. 16, our last item, consideration for approval of a contract to Arbortech Services, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $25,000 for the 2020 annual tree pruning program and waive the bid process. Mr. Noriega.
Thank you again. The Arbortech, well, tree pruning is the most common maintenance for any particular tree. We are in charge of approximately 11,000 trees throughout the village. That equates to about 7,700 parkway trees, 3,300 trees located in our parks. Tree pruning, trying to get the entire village done in 1 year would be a significant burden on staff and budget. So we've developed a program, a 7-year program, where we will every 7 years be able to at least prune every tree in the village once. We do, of course, address any emergency situations or anything that has been identified that needs immediate attention. Arbortech has been doing our tree pruning for what staff describes to me over the last 10 years, and they have not changed their number since. Keeps their staff busy throughout the entire winter season. Their costs, complete climbing trees as necessary, tree pruning, deadwood, removing the branches as necessary, $40, just a little under $40 per tree. They also are the entity that donates their staff time and equipment to help cut down as part of our Christmas tree program. So on Thursday, you'll see Arbortech, their staff, their equipment, helping us and assisting us with the cutting down for our Christmas tree. We've asked for a number of quotes. You'll see that 2 has declined or did not provide us a quote, and the 3rd was significantly higher. We're going to be focusing much of our work in the Shorewood Meadows, Lake in the Woods, and the Country West subdivisions this year. At this point, I am requesting that the proposal in the amount of $39.98 per parkway tree be approved, and a purchase order in the amount not to exceed $2,500 be approved. I'm available for any questions.
25,000.
25,000.
Okay, that's a little more.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's, in Arbortech, they've done work for us before, so they're
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the agreement between the Village of Shorewood and Arbortech for 25, not to exceed 25,000.
Second.
Roll call, Diane.
Warren,
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
and Kirkland.
Yes.
All right, item number 16 is approved. We'll go on to reports. Public Works, I'm up first. As we talked about in the last couple of agenda items, we had some water main breaks at 505 Park Shore and 303 Shady. That was the 29th and 30th of October. We had about 50 residents who we had to issue boil waters for because the water pressure dropped below 20 pounds per square inch. And that's how we found those leaking valves that we talked about also when we had to isolate those breaks. So those are all fixed. The communication water system, our upgrade there, that's still being worked on. That's moving forward. All the wood that was out at the Public Works site at the Salt Dome, that pile of brush that we had, Homer Tree was out there, got it all out of there in one day. Believe it or not, one day. That surprised the heck out of me. And then we got 30 trees in the parkways that are being replaced. These are all under warranty. That's going on. Sewer televising and cleaning the lines, that's continuing. And then the big one on Black Road is that bike trail, Mr. Noriega. You want to give us an update on that? I know we had some issues with Edison and the wiring and in the right-of-way, kind of delaying the project a little bit.
Yeah, the bike path project along Black has been very tasking right now. There's been a number of problems throughout that project. When it came from just trucking permits from IDOT, getting started, the latest and greatest is that once all of the shoulder work that was completed on I-55 for them to be able to shift lane closures over, that also added a delay to the project. They started the abutments. You saw the first bridge came in. Now they started the work over the abutments for the bridge coming over I-55. During that time frame, they discovered that ComEd, which relocated their utilities in 2018, out of the way, is still in the way. So ComEd is scrambling now to redesign and relocate their facilities one more time, hopefully to get it out of the way of the proposed abutments. So they are, we've given approval for their permitting to go ahead and do that work. City of Joliet also provided the permits, and they should be out there doing the work now. So this is approximately a 5-week delay to the contract.
Norio, could you speak to the lane closure and what we should anticipate?
So currently, the lane closure is still out there. Weather is still cooperating with us. But as soon as they start to a point where the snow falls and they can't do any more work, the intentions are to remove the lane closure and just keep the closure onto the parkway itself to allow us to still continue to do snow removal operations and have no issues with that. The road closure, lane closures will come back in the spring once they start up again.
Yep, that's right. Well, so I think that was mid-spring that was supposed to be completed. Now it's probably going to be the end of spring now, huh?
They're still hopeful if weather cooperates. Deconstruction says they're going to keep working through the winter until they can't work anymore. Until weather doesn't, temperatures don't allow them, especially when they have to pour concrete.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm still got my fingers crossed.
All right, well, thanks. And the last thing I got is our LEAF program that's continuing. We're going through the town weekly, and with the wind and the rain we've had in the last few days, I think most of those leaves are down, and we'll probably be wrapping it up, I would say, probably second week of December, more than likely. But just depends on weather and how things are going, so. And just bring them out to the curb and keep them behind the curb and out of the storm sewer or out of the gutter so we don't plug up our storm sewers. That's all I have, and we'll go on to Trustee Brockman.
No report tonight, thank you.
No report, okay, thank you. Trustee Kirkland.
Thank you. Our Shorewood scavenger hunt continues until or through the 16th of November. Also, our Shorewood Connection is online and can be accessed under our latest news on the village homepage, which is also where you can find more information on the scavenger hunt if you still want to. It's not too late, to get in there. So the only other thing I have is tomorrow's Veterans Day. I wanted to wish all our veterans a happy Veterans Day and just to say thank you for your service. That's my report.
All right, thank you. Trustee Luciano.
Thank you. Although we did not have a quorum, we had 10 members participate in the last meeting. We reviewed the Halloween suggestions for safe trick-or-treating, and we notified members to be aware of precinct changes for voting, as well as the ending of early voting. A discussion was opened on COVID-19 with members expressing their concerns, and we discussed an article from the Illinois Municipal League magazine regarding how businesses will have to change regarding sanitation after the pandemic. Lastly, we discussed ideas for the committee to pursue for 2021. The committee will not meet again until January 2021 due to the holiday season. And as always, anyone interested in getting involved with the committee, if you can contact me or any member using the contact information on the village website. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks. All right, guys, that's it. We're done. Line for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
Diane, roll call.
Said second. Okay. Luciano,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
DeBold,
Yes.
and Brockman.
Yes.
All right, we're adjourned.
Sorry.